Hello class, so today we are going to be going over a brief overview of photosynthesis, and we are going to be having a brief overview on this because tomorrow in class we are going to be doing a lab activity to explore photosynthesis. Now don't worry if you're not going to know everything about it, that's fine. We're then going to use the information learned from the lab along with this brief overview to really delve into this concept of photosynthesis. So this presentation is just kind of to get you enough knowledge to where you will be able to work through the lab tomorrow and complete it. All right, here's an overview of what this presentation is going to have. It's going to have an introduction. We're going to go over the equation for photosynthesis. We'll go over one of the key, really important parts of photosynthesis, the leaf structure, which will include the mesophyll cells, the chloroplasts, and the chlorophyll. We will also go over light versus dark in relationship to photosynthesis. And here is a very, very important one, especially when thinking of our lab for tomorrow, various factors that are going to limit photosynthesis. Okay, so here are a couple words to know. As you go through this presentation, feel free to pause and jot down some notes about some of these different words. Just think about them as we go through. Oxidation reduction, mesophyll cells, chloroplasts, chlorophyll, light dependent, and light independent. So those are just some words to think about as we go through here. Here's a brief introduction to photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is when light energy is converted into chemical energy. So this energy is taken from the light, the sun, it's solar energy. It goes through a process within the plant leaves and is converted to chemical energy, which is then able to be used by the plant as their food source. So this means that indirectly the sun, or directly, really the sun is the source of food for these plants as they take that energy and to convert it into something that they can use. An important thing for us is that a byproduct of photosynthesis is oxygen gas, which we need in our atmosphere to breathe and to support our human functions. Here's a basic schematic for photosynthesis, just a basic diagram. As you can see, if carbon dioxide is combined with water to the leaf, you get the light energy, and the products are oxygen and carbohydrates. Here is the actual chemical equation for photosynthesis. Now this is extremely important. So at this part I do want you to pause this video and to write down this equation, the complete chemical formula, as you see here. So as you can see, we've got 6 molecules of carbon dioxide combined with 6 molecules of water. It is bombarded by this light energy which catalyzes this reaction, it's the catalyst, to give you glucose. So you'll have 6 molecules of glucose, or 1 molecule of glucose as you can see, but you can pull out the 6 to make it simple, and 6 molecules of oxygen gas, which is very important for us. The reaction of photosynthesis is a oxidation reduction reaction. An oxidation reduction reaction is when there's a transfer of electrons from water, in this case, to an energy-poor carbon dioxide molecule. This then forms an energy-rich, quote-unquote, sugar molecule. Here is an example of oxidation reaction. Now this reaction is not the equation for photosynthesis. However, it was simpler to better explain the concept of what an oxidation reduction reaction is. So keep in mind that this is not the equation for photosynthesis. So as you can see, in oxidation and reduction, something is reduced, meaning that it gains electrons. In this instance, we can see the reduction occurring right here. It is reduced, meaning that there's a gain of electron here on this carbon and this oxygen. It is losing electrons. See this positive, or is gaining electrons. See this positive number has gone down. And here when something is oxidized, it loses electrons. So here we have a number here that is lower than this final number over here because it has lost an electron. So it has gained a more positive charge there. Here is the basic leaf structure. As you can see, sunlight is going to come into the cuticle of the leaf. Here's all of the xylem, the phloem, to for fluid transfer and conduction. The stoma, the opening in the leaf, which the light and the water comes in and out. As you can see, there is oxygen and carbon dioxide being rotated throughout the leaf. The leaf is the main photosynthetic organ. It has to let the carbon dioxide in, and it also has to keep the water from diffusing out. This is very, very important. As you can see, there are parts of the leaf that are individual little cells called mesophyll cells, and as mentioned on our words to know, mesophyll cells are very important in the production of photosynthesis and in its production of sugars that it creates. So let's look next at a breakdown of the mesophyll cells. The mesophyll cells are the cells within the leaf that are specifically specialized for photosynthesis. This is where the cells of the leaf, where photosynthesis occurs. It is very, very important. The mesophyll cells contain the chloroplast. See, you can see that highlighted right here. The chloroplast is a double membrane bound organelle, and the chloroplast contains the chlorophyll, which, as we'll learn as we go on, is extremely important. So here is a breakdown of the chloroplast. As you can see, the chloroplast is a double membraned organelle. Okay, it contains the thylakoids. As you can see, here's the thylakoid. The thylakoids possess interior space, which are stacked to form what is called grana. See, here's the grana, stack of thylakoids as it's showed right here, granum. And all of this is suspended in the stroma, which is an aqueous fluid. So keep in mind the chloroplast is an organelle. It's not a specific cell. It's just a small part of a specific cell. The chloroplasts contain chlorophyll, which absorb light energy. The chlorophyll is a green pigment, which is why we see the leaves of plants and all these things as being green, because it reflects the green. It's a green pigment. The chlorophyll incites the transfer of electrons, so it causes electrons to bounce and to be transferred, which causes the oxidation reduction reaction of photosynthesis. Because as we discussed, oxidation reduction is transfer of electrons from energy poor to create an energy rich. There are 4 types of chlorophyll called A, B, C, and D. A and B are the 2 more active forms of chlorophyll, and they all absorb different waves of light, which is why they're all different in their success and how productive they are with photosynthesis. So here's where we look at some light versus dark reactions of photosynthesis. As you can see, this is all taking place within the chloroplast. Here is some chlorophyll going in. With the light reactions, you have light energy. It is light dependent. You have light energy being combined with water into the chloroplast, and it's reacting with light, and it creates 2 products. There are 2 products to the light dependent part of photosynthesis. You get oxygen gas, which is very, very important, and you get something called ATP. And ATP is very important. It's just raw energy, very, very high energy, used to catalyze the next part of photosynthesis. With the next part of photosynthesis is also called the light independent part, because you don't need light as the energy reactor to start the reaction, and it's also called the Calvin cycle. The Calvin cycle is, as said, light independent. Instead of light, it uses the ATP from the first part of photosynthesis. See, here's the ATP being utilized to jumpstart the Calvin cycle, combined with the carbon dioxide to create the final product here of glucose. So you can see that we have the 2 products. We have water and we have carbon dioxide, both being used, but each one is used in a different part of photosynthesis. And we have 2 products, oxygen and glucose, but both are products of a different part of photosynthesis. So we have water being used with light in the first part to create oxygen and ATP, which is used along with the carbon dioxide in the Calvin cycle to create the final product of glucose, which is very, very, very important. There are limiting factors to photosynthesis, such as the light intensity, and as you can think about it, this makes sense because the more light that there is, the more light the chlorophyll can absorb, the more light energy that you have to catalyze these reactions, the more reactions are going to be able to take place and the more glucose is going to be able to be produced. Another one is water availability, and again, this makes sense because you need water as a product. So this also makes sense with the concentration of carbon dioxide listed on here because these are the products, and products are always limiting factors in a reaction. You can never make more of something as a final, or a product, sorry, these are the reactants. You can never have more of a product than you do of the reactant, ever. So those are very important limiting factors. The soil nutrient is also important, along with the temperature. So let's go over this. What was one thing I want you to write down, one thing that you learned about photosynthesis, and take it with you to class tomorrow. And as a reminder, this will be discussed in greater detail, so don't worry if this video was rather vague and just a general overview. It is meant to be a general overview, so that we can be ready to perform an activity tomorrow in lab. So tomorrow, come to class, think about these things, what was one thing that you learned, and come to class ready to participate in a lab. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.